Hello and welcome to the Footy Mailbag. My name is Damo, and here with me, as usual, is Clarky. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It was weird that Melbourne had 2 buys in a row, but, as I said last week, neutral footy is good footy.
Yeah, I mean, something else happened on the Gold Coast that was fairly similar to it. Anyway, this week's guest has a regular spot on Fancast. He also runs his own YouTube channel, SDS SuperCoach. We have Stephen. Mate, finally. Usually, when you're on the podcast, Clarky's not here.
Mate, it's always a pleasure to jump on the Footy Mailbag podcast. I appreciate the invite. Good to make my debut for the year.
Clarky, does it feel weird having all three of us on the same podcast? Because it's a rare occurrence.
No, I think it's good. It's nice to have Stephen here because I watch a lot of, I get a lot of your TikTok, Stephen, and they're always really good. Because I think TikTok is kind of starved for Supercoach content, and it's always, I'm always a big fan of the things that you do. So it's nice. It's not weird for you to be here because it makes sense. You're part of the alumnus, the Mailbag alumnus, where we take credit for everyone else doing really great work.
No, mate, it's good to be on. Yeah, I've been grinding out the TikTok this year, doing 4 or 5 videos a week on there. I usually just go on my work break, screen record my team or the trades and just waffle on for 6 minutes and then post it. It's pretty easy, and I highly recommend anyone it's always good getting more people into the community because we're so starved of Supercoach content on TikTok. I highly recommend starting out doing in TikTok and building your confidence up that way because it is, you're correct, Clarky. There's a lack of people doing content on Supercoach. So it does make me feel like a little bit of a god for the TikTok crew out there, but I really enjoy it, and I've been focusing on that this year.
A pioneer in the space. How's your team going, Stephen? We're out of the buys. We're now back to 9 games around. A lot of people you would have used the buys to finish off their teams, get a bit of bench cover. How have you come out of the buys? Is your team in a place where you like it? Do you still have a few moves to make? What's going on with your team?
I've really liked the side, and I've really liked how my philosophy for Supercoach this year. I've really liked how I've just stuck to my gun, going for value, looking at fixtures, and just identifying the right moment to get onto these players. And it really has. I really do like my team. 5 trades left for the run home, but with Tristan Cherry looking to go down in price hopefully a little bit more, I'd like to get my hands on him as probably the last opportunity over the next week or two. So identifying that, been happy with the side. There's a couple of other guys I'm missing, like I'd love Wanganeen Miller, I'd love Luke Jackson, but can't fit them all in. As I guess most of us fall into the issue of seeing at 1,500-ish, so the overall aim is to finish inside the top 1K, and I've been hovering around the 750 to 1.5K mark since about round 8, and just been looking to find that avenue to really push me up even further, and haven't been able to find that. Hopefully the last 8 weeks can be kind to me, though.
I think having a mostly completed team, I think most people will have a mostly completed team now coming out of the buys. I think that will help people trying to make a charge up the rankings. It's those that have a completed team with no trades left, and there are people out there, I've spoken to some of them, that I'm just worried for because this season's been like no other. We've had very slow cash gen, stop-start cash gen for a few guys, and that people have jumped off when they haven't been in teams. It's been a year like no other that I think we're now getting to the point where where people had plans earlier in the season and now they're working out that they shouldn't have traded one guy because maybe that 90 average isn't so bad now because the trade would have been better off used elsewhere, and it's just the way the season goes. But this year, there's a lot more of that regret going on, and it's good to have a team in a good place and some trades left over. And I mean, we'll get to a discussion about how teams look after the buys, but we'll move on to the first segment that we do on most podcasts, which is what caught your eye. So we'll go around and we'll just, Stephen, and just ask what caught your eye out of this round of Supercoach of footy. So, Clarkie, you've been quiet. What caught your eye?
I've been respectful is what I am. Quiet is not something that I've been described for. Look, I've probably said it before, but I'll say it again. It's another week where it really hit me the importance of getting those captains correct, but also being okay with the fact that you can make the correct decision and then also be punished for it in hindsight. Having the VC on Marcus Bontempelli and him picking up a 63 after trading him in sort of made that whole experience quite poor because you're like, oh, well, this sucks. It was Bont's 250th, and all of the information that I had from Damo and Dano said that bringing in Bont on his 250th would be lucrative for me. And I'm not pointing fingers, especially not at Damo or Dano, for convincing me that Bont was necessary. But looking at my team, I had Connor Rosie popped off with a 150, completely overlooked him. Butters a 123, completely overlooked him. It was frustrating to say the least, and I think I ended up with the captain Nick Dacos with a 130, but at certain points in that game, it wasn't looking like it was going to be that friendly in the end. So I think this is that part of the year where we kind of see that the captain decisions that we make really just they can really change the outcome of your week. And also, not to beat yourself up about it, because I didn't know Marcus Bontempelli was going to score 63, but it's usually a pretty good bet to put the vice captain on Marcus Bontempelli at some point in the week, right?
Yeah, for sure. Stephen, what about you? What caught your eye out of this round of Supercoach?
Well, I guess it's I tweeted out about 5 weeks ago, where's the Lawson Humphreys of 2025? When is he going to pop up? And we've got an even better version right now with Tom McCarthy, where his role is just unbelievable for a guy that's been in the AFL system for a month. Like, he looks just about the most composed footballer at the Eagles. And with 2 huge scores of 133 and 101, he's got a break even of negative 175, where a score of 107 or more will break the record for the biggest price rise. So it is...
It's weird to be rooting for the Eagles this week, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's weird to be rooting for the Eagles this week.
It is. Well, we got a Sport for Choice on Friday night, 2 games this week. So, yeah, a lot of people having Tom McCarthy as their saviour. For some people that maybe are running a bit short on trades and looking to finalise their team, Tom McCarthy is a guy that they can just put into their 23rd, ideally 24th, just for bench cover. But there's nothing wrong with having him as a 23rd as things stand at this stage. But yeah, that really caught my eye, just the way he plays the game, and just an absolute gift from the Supercoach gods and AFL fantasy gods to get this guy as a potential reliable bench cover or 23rd guy for the rest of the season.
Very nice. Yeah, he's on the run sheet. We'll talk about him in just a moment.
Whoops.
What caught my eye was no. It's
good work, Stephen. You've ruined the whole show now.
It's good.
I didn't see the run sheet.
No, it's fine. It's fine. What caught my eye was the low scoring round, especially in the forward line. I'm looking at my forward line coming out of the round now, and I've got a 91, a 73, a 96, a 49, a 99, and a 71. So none of my forwards cracked the ton over the weekend. And then Clarkie, you spoke about Bont with the 63, and Callum Mills only scored a 56. Matt Roberts is still in a lot of teams. He only scored a 58 or thereabouts.
62.
62. There we go. So there's lots of guys that lots of people own that didn't do a lot over the weekend. Even Andy Brayshaw, who's crept into a lot of teams thanks to his early season performances. He only managed to get to 84 despite having quite a good game to the eye. So
can I use this moment to bring up a grievance?
Go on.
Damo, last week you had some words about what was going to happen to Andy Brayshaw in the back half of this year. And I want you to
Yes.
know that I'm putting you on notice, because if Andy Brayshaw drops another stinker, I'm absolutely declaring I'm removing you. You should be stripped of your Brayshaw breakout title because you have cursed him.
No, I told you exactly what is happening.
Cursed.
So if we cast back to last week, or maybe it was the week before, I said it usually the Freo midfield flips in Supercoach. If you start with Sarong and Sarong is doing great at the first half of the season, second half of the season he's going to be a little bit lackluster, and that's because Brayshaw was probably lackluster in the first half and has gone gangbusters in the second half. There's always some kind of flip. Always.
I don't know, Stephen. That sounds like a curse to me.
It does a bit, Damo, and I mean, you just have to have a look at Freo's run. I think they've got behind Hawthorn one of the harder inside mid matchups for the rest of the season. So this does seem a bit, hopeful from Damo's end.
Hopeful.
Hopeless. Hopeless. The curse.
I want people to know I own Andrew Brayshaw. I want him to do well. I'm just not expecting him to do well.
Yeah, but this is
Me neither.
This is like a criminal who commits the crime on themselves to divert suspicion. But I've been impacted too, guys. It can't be me.
I will
My
be
house
impacted.
was also robbed.
I own him.
My house was also robbed. I can't believe this.
How come every time I do a what caught my eye, it always turns into Clarky grilling me about something?
That's not necessarily true. But
Go back the last 4 or 5 episodes. Every time I mention what caught my eye, Clarky grills me about something.
it's funny because we get like the professional Damo and then it devolves into the Damo on the witness stand Damo. And I hope that the listeners know it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. We both have Brayshaw. Brayshaw's going to be fine. He's just getting more attention because I think the reason why Damo that probably works that way, and this happens for a lot of mids, is that you probably tag the guy who had a good first half of the year in the second half of the year because he's good. You probably make sure that guy's not as good. And you kind of see the thing with like Nick Dacos where he cooled very recently. He cooled for many weeks in a row because people were like, oh shit, Nick Dacos is still playing. We should probably do something about that. And then sometimes the heat lifts off and he gets a 131. So anyway, you're on notice.
I'm on
Don't
notice.
crash out again, Damo.
Yeah. Wait for the curse to be passed. Honestly, that's a really good point. The forward line has been so difficult this year that I'm actually genuinely just happy with.
Oh yeah, I actually said what caught my eye.
Yeah, you did say what caught your eye. Yeah. The 90s for me have really been difficult, and thank God for... It's weird, the Melbourne players I've got my forward line seem to have scores despite us not having a game this week. But a Cozzy pick at 121, even if it's due to some kind of system error, is pretty nice in that. But that's going to be an absolute spike. So, I don't know, playing your cards right for the forward line is going to be difficult for the rest of the year.
Yep.
Do you guys have another bye this week?
Yeah, I think so. I can't see any games with the Melbourne Football Club on the AFL website, which is weird.
It says Adelaide in Adelaide, but I just was asking with you because I thought you would know.
Well, I thought Adelaide will just. I'm assuming they're just staying in Adelaide because that's where they're from.
Right. Okay.
I don't think they're intending to play any football.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I'd be surprised if we saw Adelaide play any football this week, or even break a sweat. Some people might say, "Oh my god,
we're going to say play a game of marbles."
Yeah. Oh my god, we're going to lose by so many points, guys. I can't keep up the bit. We're going to lose by so much.
Have you seen the round, by the way? It is the worst round I've ever seen.
9v9 and 2 Friday night games and 2 Saturday night games at the same time.
And
Sick.
the only non-top 8 versus bottom 10 matchup is West Coast versus GWS. Sydney Freo's game of the round.
Yeah, I'm scared about that.
That'll be good for neutral footballers.
I'm scared for multiple reasons actually. I don't want injuries because it's ACL watch because of the turf. Just Sydney in general having people back and almost beating the Bulldogs. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult to watch. Stephen, you mentioned Tom McCarthy. He will be above 200k after this round, even if he only scores 58.
Jesus.
So a score of 58 will get him a price rise of 103k. So this week, if you don't have Tom McCarthy, and for some reason you don't have a plan to bring him in yet, well, it's pretty simple. He's 99k. There is no excuse.
No. And in the nicest way possible, I don't want to hear any comments on, should I grab Tom McCarthy this week? Should I? At 200 plus K? Just make sure you got him if you want to have either good bench cover or a cheap 23rd. Like, yeah, I would insanely recommend bringing in Tom McCarthy, probably the most urgent trade in since Riley Bice.
Yeah, and we all know how Riley Bice went.
Yep.
That's rude.
I'm assuming we all own him already.
Riley Bice? No.
Tom McCarthy.
I know what you said. Yeah, I did. I think his role in that initial game, like, it was very clear. I think we've said this for a few weeks in a row now. He was brought in to do a specific job, and last week was a validation of that expectation where he has been brought in to do a specific role, and he's very lucrative at that. He's very good at football, guys. He's so good at football.
Watching the Collingwood game on the weekend, he actually is quite a good defender as well. So it's not just his ball use out of halfback that helps his Supercoach scoring, but he's really good at like the defensive stuff as well, which helps his, like, the little 1-2 pointers that you know some defenders don't get. So like I feel like this guy could be a guy that averages 105 on the run home for the West Coast.
Would you say that's best case?
I would say I don't know if that's best case, but like it's like best case I would like him to average more. Worst case he'll average 80, but 105 is kind of what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
I think even if he averaged 80 though, it's kind of this weird justification, but I think he's not a cash cow, guys.
Yeah.
Like, no. I think we need to be probably pretty clear about this, is that based on the current available vision and expectation, he's someone that you're bringing in as your, like you said, Stephen, the 23rd, 24th guy that you just need to ride, and it's a blessing from the Supercoach gods that he's 99k.
So I mentioned at the top of the podcast, the buys are now over and teams are getting to the point where they are almost finished. So ideally, what should our teams be looking like in terms of leftover trades, bench, all that sort of thing? And I say ideally because I know there will be people out there, possibly me included, that don't have an ideal looking team. But ideally, when we're looking at our team coming out of the buys, where would you like your team to be?
40 trades and full primo, baby.
Or could you imagine?
I think for me, I think you should have all of your main, and I say main as in defender, midfielder, rucks, forwards, should be filled with people who you consider keepers. I won't say primo, but people who you consider keepers, whether that be a value option, whether that be a full-blown Zach Merritt or a Rosie, whatever. Or even, I think, even lower down, like if you're just riding Caleb Daniel into the sunset, I think you need to be satisfied with that, and you should be thinking about how you're going to fill your flex as the 23rd option, and possibly even a 24th, depending on trades. Trades, I think anywhere between, you're probably going to be okay with 3, touch wood, but anything I think 5+ is a favorable position because it gives you just a little bit of wiggle room, but also enough that, once again, touch wood, you're not going to have any significant interruption from injury. Stephen, Damo, do you guys have any feelings about my ideal?
You've pretty much nailed it you want guys that you consider to be keepers. So now, over the next few weeks, if you've got more than 5 trades left over, now's the time to be doing your luxury trades. So you've got to be. So if you own guys that are averaging between 80 and 90, but have those spike games, and you've only got, let's say you've got 7 trades. In my eyes, you've probably got 2 luxury trades that you could make. Those guys probably aren't a lot of money, so you might need to be okay with maybe keeping one and cashing in on a rookie to get a better guy. But I think it's at the point where you need to just sit on what you've got and then trade accordingly towards the back end of the season. But now it's the time to hold where you are, assuming you've got 6 keepers in defense, 8 keepers in the midfield, 2 good rucks, and a forward line that at least goes 90 plus most weeks.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that's the best case scenario for teams. But then the next discussion is, who are the must-haves we need on each line? And I don't think we need to talk about 5 players and you need all 5 players. I think it gets to a point where you need to have 2 of these 5 in your team for these lines. So if we start in defense, and I'm going to put a name forward first that I believe is a must-have, or one of the must-haves that you need, and that's Max Holmes. I think dual position, Geelong's run home. They play Richmond twice, starting with one of those matchups this week. I think Max Holmes becomes one of the must-haves you need for the run home in defense or even midfield. And put him at the top of your must-haves list. You need him. And then, Stephen, who else would be a must-have in defense that you would need?
For me, it would be Nazai Wanganeen-Miller. The fact that Saints have such a good run home. I guess you can throw, I know we said 2, but Wanganeen-Miller, Sinclair, potato. They're both fine. St Kilda's run home is very favourable. I think especially with Wanganeen-Miller, his floor scores are so high. It's, other than that weird West Coast game, it's really 90 minimum. Now, it might not be the biggest ceiling in the world that he presents, but he can just do 130s, 140s for fun when he wants to. And St Kilda I've noticed over the last few weeks as well, they're just feeding him the ball. He's running around like Sonic out there to get that handoff play and getting the ball running for the Saints. And that ain't going to change. And Sinclair falls into this as well, but they're using Wanganeen-Miller more. St Kilda are a better side when he's got the ball in his hands. And there really isn't anyone else outside of Wanganeen-Miller or Sinclair that can do that. So there's not much that's going to change there. Will teams look to tag Wanganeen-Miller? Potentially, but the way things are going, I don't think there's much need to do so. So I think Wanganeen-Miller is extremely safe. With that run, 110, I would expect him to average for the run home and, be a real challenger or better than Max Holmes for the run home.
Clarky, who
has finally mentioned Sonic. Finally. I'm here for it.
Was that a debut word?
Yeah, I think so.
Clarky, who would you say is among your must-haves in defense for the run home?
I think it's Connor Rosie, because you guys already picked 2 other people that I would have chosen. Connor Rosie has all the upsides that we just mentioned with Wanganeen-Miller. Pretty safe floor, pretty solid role with him, Port Adelaide, because if he's not running off halfback at the moment, he's playing through the midfield. He's the captain of the club. He's just coming off the back of a 150, 107 Port alive again. It seems like the last few weeks they've actually been playing better football, particularly with Butters back in as well. I just think there's a 547 as he's very attractively priced if you're looking for a premium option that you don't already have. I don't imagine that he is that lowly owned, but yeah, it's just you can't miss him at all for all the reasons that we've covered about all these other wonderful players.
And if we move into the midfield, is it as simple as you need at least one of Butters, Bont, and Dacos.
Ideally 2.
Ideally 2.
Because I think they've all been, 3 is awesome. I think 2, I'd certainly say 2. They have all been attainable at some point during the season, under 600k. Like Dacos has been attainable for about 3 months at this point. But Butters, about past month, and now Bont, who, he's first time he's dropped under 600k since, I believe, 2023. So obviously he isn't going to be like the Bont because probably limited preseason, getting a little bit less CBA time throughout the season. But yeah, Bont is Bont and he's going to Bont. And Butters, I would say 2 of those 3 for sure.
Clarky,
I have a different name.
Yeah, go on.
I think more people should be cementing Matt Rowell into their teams.
Ooh.
If we're talking about a player who has at this point solidified his consistency in Supercoach scoring, it's Matt Rowell. He hasn't dropped below 100, I think, in probably what feels like maybe 8 weeks or so. He's got a really favourable role because if you're tagging at Gold Coast, you're tagging Anderson, you're tagging Took Millers, and it's really allowing, as we've already said before in this podcast, and Stephen, I'm sure that you'll agree that the trend this year with the continuing rise of the tag, it's been the year of the second bananas. It's the Matt Rowell years. It's the Zach Butters isn't necessarily a second banana, but he's popping back off because we've got, is it Bergman running through the midfield over at Port? Liberatore and Bontempelli were kind of tagging back and forth, but now you've got the likes of Ed Richards and Joel Frazier who are popping off. Max Holmes and Bailey Smith. If one's getting covered, the other one is getting the points. It's the year of second bananas, so I think Matt Rowell at his price as well really needs to be in the category of people who I wouldn't be surprised if the overall winner had Matt Rowell in their team and has had them for a long time.
And just looking at Matt Rowell as well, 6 weeks ago he was 464k.
Yeah, crazy.
And then he's gone 124, 121, 121, 114, 106, and 147. And Gold Coast, with even with a game in hand, are fighting for their first finals appearance. And he's going to be a massive part of that. So I don't mind that call, Clarky.
They've got a tough run, which I think might scare some people off, but look at his scores, and they've come up against the 112 in that, I believe, was against Geelong at GMHBA. So don't be afraid of the run. Trust in his ability. I think if you like watching Matt Rowell, you're going to love owning him, I think.
Great shout.
And I'm going to throw one more name into the mix. Now, he's only just returned from injury, but Errol Goulden is 581k. He's gone 100 plus. He's gone 95 and then 146 in his first 2 games back. He looks like everything that Sydney's been missing over the last few months. 581k. He's probably going to be 600 plus by the time the season ends. Now, I don't know if a must-have is the right phrase, but I feel like if you have a way to get him in and it finishes your side, you're going to have some advantages over the last 8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I can completely understand why we could take that position. He's an out-and-out superstar. Everybody was going to start him before the injury, right? Like it's a no-brainer that this guy's coming back, and Sydney still have an opportunity to really push for finals. Like Mills is back. They've got a mix that's really working for the Mills, Gould, and Papley. Sorry, I was trying to vamp while I remembered that last bastard's name. Papley's just got that dog about him. I forgot how much I just like watch him. I'm like, oh, like you're probably a really nice guy, but just something about you. I'm like, you look like you want to be punched.
Ooh, I've got a Tom Papley story. Very first gather round, I actually stayed in the same hotel as the Sydney Swans. When I was leaving one morning, Papley was in the foyer, just sort of sitting on his phone, watching everyone walk out of the hotel. You know, you like when you're in a hotel, some people like to people watch. He was people watching, and the night before, I think he kicked 6 against the Tigers at Adelaide Oval. And I just remember almost going up to him and telling him he had a good game, and then And then I was walking towards him, and then he looked up at me, and then I just left. I was like, "Nope, never mind."
Yeah, Tom Papley was going to bash Damo, and Damo could not even talk to him. Papley is a dog, confirmed. Yeah, I think Goulden is just someone who makes sense, as my chair squeaks as loud as it possibly can. Goulden is someone who makes sense because he has the ability. It's just about trusting that he is fully back. He's not going to be managed in any way. And it doesn't seem the case so far, but I don't think. I think if there's a way that they feel like they're going to make finals and they don't want to risk him, we may see some fluctuation in that. So that's probably the only concern. But if that's something you can get past, then he's definitely someone who should be on your list.
If we move to the ruck line, unless someone else has another midfielder to throw into the mix.
Tom Green maybe just based on the run.
Right.
Yeah,
Tom
I can get
Green.
behind that. That's fun.
Let's
That's
look at
fun as
Tom
well.
Green. So
I think
he's
he's
got
a bit-
West Coast on Friday night, comes up against Geelong, then Essendon, then Sydney, then Bulldogs, North, Gold Coast, and St Kilda. Not a bad run for him, actually.
Very cheeky run. And you know what you're going to get from him each week.
And just a touch under 600k as well, so still in a good range to purchase.
Yep. And they'll go to Callahan first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Green's inside and rarely outside, so there's not much you can tag. So moving to the ruck line, is it as simple as you need at least one of Gawn and Cherry plus one of the other ruckmen in the top 5 or 6?
If Brodie Grundy's form continues, I'd probably say maybe, but I think the boat's gone on him, right? Because he's over 700 at the moment.
He's very expensive.
Yeah, if you
What
have
the
the same-
2019 is this? Is he
I know.
actually?
It's
He is 707k, averaging 118.8. He has a 5-round average of 152.6.
Jeez.
I don't think he maintains necessarily that high, but I think we have seen now that he's kind of hit his groove in that Sydney mix. Like, we've always known Grundy has been a fantastic ruckman and had the ability. It was just opportunity and gelling. And I think, like we've already spoken about Sydney, right? Like, all the ins that they've got in, the mix that they've got now feels right for them. And Grundy, he's kicked back-to-back goals in games, hasn't he? As well. That's two for two.
So if we're looking at the ruckman by average, there is quite a gap between the top 5 ruckmen in Gawn, Cherry, Jackson, Grundy, and Cameron, and then the next lot of ruckmen. So I think if you have 2 of those 5, you're in a pretty good position for the run home.
Agree.
And
Do we reckon there's like an underrated guy that could just have a really nice last 8 weeks?
Gets Darcy Cameron.
Probably Darcy Cameron.
Yes.
I like that shout.
Yeah, he's been underrated because he's kind of he's just kind of an everyman about him. Like, there's something. Yeah.
I also don't mind Tim English as well.
Yeah, it's Timmy Tallman. I don't.
He
mind.
is. He's averaging 116 over his last 5 games, so he's also having a really good run lately. And given that the Bulldogs play so many games at Marvel Stadium on the run home, that's good Tim English turf.
Shout out
sure.
to the 7 AFL kids call from the Western Bulldogs Richmond game a couple weeks ago, where I heard one of the teenage young adult commentators call Tim English Timmy Tallman, which is now the only way I'm going to refer to Tim English.
Timmy Tallman.
And
It
then
feels good, doesn't it? It feels fun.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
it's good alliteration. And then if we move to the forward line, well, I think it's pretty simple. You need Bailey Smith.
Who? Never heard of him.
We've already talked about Geelong's run home, plays Richmond twice, starting with this week. Bailey Smith, assuming he stays, not going to say anything. Bailey Smith in the forward line, number 1. He's going to be the number 1 forward pretty easily there. Probably won't be a forward next year, so lap it up while he is a forward now. Other guys in the forward line that you might need, Sam Darcy, I think, is going to be a must-have on the run home.
Well, it'll be hard to watch for non-owners watching Bulldog games without Sam Darcy. I mean, He's just an absolute freak, and he is the next generation type of key forward that will become the new prototype going forward as well. So,
and being a key forward, owners will have to take the good with the bad, because there will be games where he could go 180 and then other games where he goes 75.
yeah,
So I think what helps his score stay fairly healthy is the fact that he does have some ruck time. I don't love him in the ruck, but because he has some ruck time, he gets a little bit around the ball, and he's a fairly mobile man for a guy that's 208 centimeters. So he's got good size on him, but he moves well for a big man. So keeps his score pretty healthy, being able to do that. Clarkey, forward line, who's a must-have?
Yeah, sorry, I was just checking my notes, and when someone can fucking tell me that Liam Baker is a top 5 forward at the moment, so like, I just missed
he's
that
going mad.
completely. Yeah, I have full disclosure. My forward line has basically been untouched for like 6 weeks now, because it's just like Bailey Smith, McRae, Petrarca, Cozzy Pickett, and Caleb Daniel, and then whoever else. But yeah, shit. Good for you, Liam. Good for you.
He's not flashy enough. Like we don't give the respect to the forwards. Like Matt Kennedy has flown under the radar all season just because he hasn't got, a cool looking haircut or whatever. Just some of these guys have just fallen under the radar. And tell you what, if it was 2024, that'd certainly be a lot more of a talking point.
I don't really have a lock that isn't obvious for the forward line. I don't think there's a must-have that we're going to speak about that people will be like, oh yeah, of course you said Jack McRae. Oh yeah, of course you said Bailey Smith, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to go with almost like a Spark-inspired pick, where I think there is a world where Cozzy Pickett, Melbourne need to do something different, because Christian Petrarca, Clayton Oliver, and Jack Viney are a terrible midfield mix. Cozzy Pickett has been picking up midfield minutes, and then on top of that, kicking multiple goals. It's very, very much a Sam Darcy-ish kind of situation where they get their points from being good at their core role and then have added responsibilities on top of it. So if Cozzy Pickett continues with his midfield rotation mix, which I think Melbourne should do, in fact, I think they should probably move Petrarca and maybe Viney out of that and put in some of the other younger guys with Cozzy flipping in there as well, because he's just a pretty good user and he has really good sense of Melbourne need someone to score and they're always looking for him. He's someone that I think you should consider in that like must-have basket of just has the role currently, but will have some games where he's probably a bit not like you're not super happy with the score, but then he'll pop out a 120, a 150 because he gets 20 disposals and 4 goals.
Yeah. I think
I
think that's a good call, though. I think it's something like the forward line is definitely not obvious. I was having a good look while you were talking, and you're right. There's not a lot of obvious players you need. Like a Luke Jackson, we've already spoken about in the ruck line. He's a guy that if you have in the forward line and flip into your ruck or whatever, or however you're going to use him, I think that's a great tactic to have. But a lot of the guys that people should have, most people already have. That they're already in a lot of teams. And you mentioned Jack McRae as a must-have. Well, I've got a hot take. If Ross Lyon's going to use him as a tagger, I don't think he is a must-have. And we were talking about luxury trades before. I think Jack McRae, if you can turn Jack McRae and a rookie into Luke Jackson and Tom McCarthy this week, I think you should not think twice.
I think that's a very specific scenario, though, would be my only devil's avocado on that is...
No, 100% right. It's so specific that there'll be very few people that can do it, but I think if someone out there can, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, because I think conversely, if we're talking about Luke Jackson, it's my biggest concern about Luke Jackson is that Justin Longmuir, for some reason, decides, well, we need to do something to keep Sean Darcy, and Luke Jackson's the only one who can do other things. And that mix between Darcy and Jackson sort of flips a little bit back towards Shrek's way, which, it doesn't seem to be the case right now. But I do agree with you that I think it's probably a good flip if you are reasonably convinced that that is the case. Who knows what St Kilda are doing? All I know is that their one good player for Supercoach is Nas.
Yeah. Absolute goat. Can I throw Nick Martin in the mix?
You can.
I think I think a lot of people would have Connor Stone or a Campbell Gray sitting on their bench. If you can have Nick Martin in your forward line, Campbell Gray is the other defender on your bench, or Connor Stone, whatever the case may be, that can just provide a bit of extra flexibility. And I think Nick Martin is fairly safe. He's a little bit of a Timu Wanganeen Miller, where they try to get him the ball a fair bit, Essendon, and I think he's ultra available. Like, we've never haven't heard many Nick Martin injuries, have we? So I think I wouldn't call him a must-have, but I do think he is a guy that is, I think, definite top six, and I think he's a bit more of a differential for those out there. I think he's sitting at 572k, which is 573k, so that's pretty attainable. So I quite like him as well.
Yeah, not to sound like a naysayer, but I will point out just for the benefit of, I don't know if he is listening, but hey, Jesse, if you're listening, you did write us a question at the start of the year asking, why is no one talking about Nick Martin? And we said, because he's not relevant. And I'm willing to walk that back a little bit, because I think, Stephen, to your point as well, he is a good option because he has these flashes where he shows if he gets the correct role in that particular game, where he can really showcase the things that he is good at. He pulls out a 145 against Sydney, a 108 against Melbourne, a 120, is that 128 or 126 against Brisbane, 112 against Carlton. It's just a matter of opportunity, right? These low scores that he has in between are the things that worry me, because it's not like he has that role and has a bad game. It's because Essendon is still moving around a lot of pieces because half their team is injured.
Yeah, very true.
But I do definitely agree. I think he is the perfect candidate for, like you said, flexibility with a defender forward switch, or even a flex option for people who are looking.
And if we go back to the beginning of the year when we answered that question, I think the issue that we had was we were worried about his role from game to game. They talked about him being able to be used in multiple positions, and we were worried about him being moved around and not having the continuity in his game to put up good scores. But we've seen him as a forward put up a good score, as a winger put up a good score, as a defender put up a good score, as a full-time midfielder put up a good score. So those worries that we had that put into question whether he could be a top 6 to 8 forward or wherever he was on the ground, those worries have gone away. So now he actually looks like a good option at either end of the field. We didn't talk about Nick Martin as a must-have in defence, but as a forward, it makes total sense because he's more likely than not going to go 90 plus most weeks on the run home, because he is so movable and still good in whatever position Brad Scott chooses to put him in.
And you sort of see the heat maps as well. Like, I think you'll see him all types of. It wouldn't surprise me if he's played an AFL game where he stepped on every blade of grass on that field, where he's just that type of player. He's always moving. He's always running around, high tog. So I think he's quite interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've gone through that for now. Clarky, it's time for your spark.
Hey, let's keep it in the forward line because, gentlemen, ladies, non-binary finers that may be listening, we love you all. And Clarky is here to bring you a good old-fashioned, nonsensical spark. And this week, I am championing one of the men from Hawthorn, one of the gorgeous forward line men from Hawthorn. And that's it. You saw him kick 6 goals this week. It's not going to be Jack Gunson. I gotcha. Just
7.
Sorry, 7. Dylan Moore is 469,700. Has a break-even of 12 and a 3-round average. That is, think about 110, give or take. Hawthorn are back, baby. The Hawthorn are back. Dylan Moore he's had a slump, right, between rounds 8 and 13. Not so good, but not bad enough that if you already had him, you would have traded him. But 162 against Adelaide at UTAS, 103 against North at UTAS. Comes up against St Kilda this week. Freo, Port, Carlton, Adelaide in the run home. I just think Hawthorn are really going about their footy well. And Dylan Moore is one of those players who has just an element of class that makes Hawthorn better. He's someone that they look to. He's someone that they want to consistently use in a way that is Supercoach positive. We've talked about Kyle Amon. Now we're moving all the way to the other end. Dylan Moore is the spark of the week because I just think that's a really attractive price as well. It's just value because, look, if you're luxury trading and you've got some in the bank and he doesn't pan out, you're going to make a little bit of cash and you can flip him to, I don't know, Nick Martin, whoever.
Love it.
Steve, as a Hawks fan, what's different about Dylan Moore now as opposed to earlier in the season?
Well, he has always been a guy that can get into slumps and can just be very inconsistent and just be the roller coaster of roller coasters. I think Hawthorn's form has certainly helped. I think there's been more dare and more. I felt early in the season we were playing fairly stagnant, and fast away. The quicker we move the ball, the quicker we get it to the forward line, the quicker we get it to Dylan Moore to set up goals, and players are out of position. So I think I've noticed that over the past few weeks with the Hawks, and yeah, Dylan Moore as well. I think there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder as well because he is, it's probably not for long now. I don't know if Sicily's back, but he's been the captain for the time being. So he probably feels mentally he needs to lead by example. And yeah, and as well, ever since that player meeting, the tackle, just the pressure of players has been up. So the pressure meter for Hawthorn is through the roof at this stage, and that's where Dylan Moore thrives. He loves a tackle, and he loves getting in dirty and getting the ball inside packs. And if they need to change the way they need to play, they'll chuck Dylan Moore in for a few CBAs in a game. So there's just so many ways that he can produce scoring, not on a consistent level, but just at a guy that we can always rely on to be a 95 average forward. It's not the perfect role, but we use him so much off half forward, and he's always setting up a lot of the ball. He's a smart player, so I really do like Dylan Moore. Probably not been as relevant this year because we've got a better forward line to have other options at. Last year he was very relevant. So yeah, I think he does have his ups and downs, but I do expect a strong run home from Dylan Moore this year.
Excellent. Good spark, Clarkie. I like it. He's actually on my radar if I need to make a trade. So I do like that spark from you. Let's get to the questions. We have talked for way too long. Just a reminder, please submit your questions before 8 p.m. Melbourne time on Wednesdays. And you can also send us voice memos if you don't want to type into a little box. The link for all of that is on our website next to the link to our question form. First question comes from Matthew. Hey guys, one primo forward left, 7 trades to use, but forward bench is dead. Suggestions? Well, hey, we just gave you one.
Do
it.
7 trades though, that's not too bad.
That's a lot of trades. That's too many trades for one person to have. You should do something irresponsible.
And if you want someone on your bench who can be useful on the run home, assuming he owns a Campbell Gray, a Connor Stone, or even a Ben Payton still, Alex Taru is on the bubble. He's 163k. I think he's going to play a lot of games for St Kilda on the run home, and he's just not the type to be a sub either. So I think if you want some life on your bench to give you a bit of cover as well, you could also bring in Alex Taru for your bench.
The Flying Viking.
The
Love
Flying Viking. Steve, we also have a Steve that asked a question.
Okay.
He says, hey guys, who should I pick as my second last upgrade? He has TDK in the flex. The choices are Zorko, Merritt, or Stewart. McCarthy
Zorko,
would be his only on-field rookie who might not be a rookie actually. So yeah, thanks again. Love your content. So Zorko, Merritt, or Stewart? Where's your vote going, Clarkie?
Merritt. I think Essendon have enough returning players that there's hopefully a potential change to get Merritt back to a little bit more of a lucrative role. He's also Zach Merritt. and not Dane Zorko. Boo, Dane Zorko.
I think my vote is for Tom Stewart. And it's
Okay.
purely because of Geelong's run home.
I like it. Do you think he's back?
I think he's back. I was having a look just before when we were looking at must-haves because I was almost going to mention him. The last 3 weeks, he has gone, last 4 weeks even, 5 weeks, he's gone 98,
6 weeks.
103, 111, 109, 118.
that seems pretty back to me.
Yeah, it seems back to me. And he's only just a touch above 500k as well, 504. So yeah, good price, good run home, everything. It looks like everything ticks a box for me. Tom Stewart's my vote. Steve, where are you sitting?
Just to make it hard for you, Steve, I'm going Zorko. No, kidding. I'll help you out. Well, it was between Merritt and Stewart for me anyway. I would go Zach Merritt, I think. I like Essendon's run home too.
I think it's a bit of a toss-up. I think
Yeah.
I would be happy if the order was Stewart, Merritt, Zorko, or Merritt, Stewart, Zorko. I think if cash is a question to you, or if it's a value thing at all, then probably it sounds like Stewart just inches ahead slightly. But I think they both have the same upside, Stewart and Merritt.
And just on Dane Zorko, I don't know. I think he said on, was it Footy Classified that he was on, or Agenda Setters?
Agenda Setters.
I think he said that his role in the back half of the season might be a bit more fluid as Brisbane get to the pointy end of the season. So Gideon Coleman is coming back from injury. They've been giving bigger roles to the likes of Noah Answorth, Darcy Wilmot, and those sorts of guys. So
Fletcher.
I don't think Zorko's role is as solid as it was last year or in perhaps earlier in this season. So I think Merritt and Stewart are the only true options, and I've already said that my vote's for Stewart, but Merritt is also a good option as well. It depends on what you need, to be honest, and where you need this person on the field.
Is he bringing them in this week, one of them?
It looks like it.
Yeah, because that is proper prime time. I mean,
Yeah.
Gold Coast are the second easiest team for opposition midfielders if Brad Scott isn't an idiot and puts him in the midfield. And then Stewart's got Richmond. So, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, excellent. Next question comes from Jacob. Hey, boys, I have 2 underperforming primos in Roberts and Bolton and 6 trades left. I'm thinking of downgrading Clark to a 99k donut, leaving me with 566k if I upgrade Roberts or 551k if I upgrade Bolton. Can bring in a mid or defender if trading Roberts, but only a forward if Bolton. Thinking Rosie for Roberts, but wondering what the pros think. Sorry, you won't get that here. Also could maybe trade into a cheaper primo option this week, then trade up the other next week. Cheers in advance. Big fan of the pod.
Oh, thanks, Jacob.
Legend.
Jacob, we're a big fan of you.
I would say that if you're trading Roberts to Rosie, that is a net positive trade. I don't see any real downside to that. We've already spoken about Rosie being literally someone very handsome spoke about how Rosie was a must-have defender very early in this episode. Alternatively, if you want a fun option, Joel Frazier exists.
Joel Frazier worries me because he doesn't have the same role every week, but I love that his ceiling is so high. So it might be that you got to take the good with the bad with a Joel Frazier.
That's why he's a fun pick.
The one thing I will say about Roberts and Bolton, Roberts' role has changed from the one he had earlier in the season. They're now using him more on the wing. He's no longer across half-back. They've given that back to Callum Mills. Whereas Shea Bolton, his role hasn't changed. He's just not hitting the scoreboard. So you're more of a chance to get Bolton back to his best than you are Roberts in the current system of those teams. So in my opinion, I think trading Roberts gets you a better result than trading Bolton overall. And especially if it gives you the option to bring in 2 positions by trading Roberts, I think Bolton is the one you hold for now, even if you do trade him later, because 6 trades left, down to 5 after this one. You've still got room to move Bolton across to someone else, even if, but you got to wait for Bolton's price to then to bounce back up.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I do. I think Roberts is more urgent than Bolton because defenders score more than forwards. So you can bet against that a little bit, as opposed to Roberts, where the role is the wing now, and he's not taking kickouts. The role has changed, as you said, Damo, to what it was when we were picking him. So, I think Roberts is pretty an urgent trade if you've got 5, to be honest, 4 or more. But I think Bolton's fine to hold for the time being. But if you can move off him a couple of weeks without carnage, then that's cool.
Next question comes from Nate. Just wondering if you have any tips on how to win league finals or what to focus on with limited trades at this time of year. So,
great question.
So if we move trades off the table and it's just managing team, utilize your loops. Utilize whatever loops you have, whoever it is. Even if it's a rookie on your bench, work out what that loop is, because it is not beyond a rookie's game to score 85 plus, and maybe you lock that in instead of whatever you might get from a Shea Bolton. So if someone goes 85 plus, Shea Bolton's up against Sydney this week, I think I would take the 85 over whatever Shea Bolton does. If Bolton goes better than that, then hey, that's just the luck of the draw, but at least you've given yourself a chance. The other tip that I would do is go for a captain that is outside of the norm. So if everyone's going for Dacos, Bont, Butters, Smith, Holmes, those sorts of guys, go for someone that no one has thought of. Put the captaincy on a Sam Darcy, for example. Put the captaincy. Put the captaincy on a John Noble, like that sort of guy.
His Clarky juice because he's sounding insane. Do you mean vice captain or captain?
Hey, either. No, because league finals are different to rank.
Yeah, but
you're like in league finals, you are trying to outplay the room. It's not about moving up in rank or getting a good score. You are trying to outplay the guy that you are next to.
It's not outplaying the guy though when you captain Sam Darcy and it's a week that he scores 70 just because you didn't want to copy and have Max Holmes that keeps you on the same level, right?
I'm not saying captain him if the matchup isn't good. I'm just saying choose someone outside of the main guys that everyone seems to stick the captaincy on.
Stephen, which side of the fence? I'm kind of a halfway where I'm like, roll your VC better and keep your C consistent would be my personal take on it. But Stephen, what's your...
Clarky, I never said VC or C. I said think
captain.
of a different captain.
You said put the captain on someone like Sam does.
That could mean anyone. That could mean the blue armband or the orange armband. You're putting words in my mouth that I did not say.
He's walking it back, listeners.
I said, mate.
I asked you for
first with what caught my eye, and then with what teams are supposed to look like, and now with answering this question.
No.
You're putting words in my mouth, and you're not letting the podcast move forward.
No, Damo. I did ask you for clarification. The record will show that I did ask you, did you mean vice captain? And you said I meant think outside the box. Which I'm like, okay. If you mean vice captain or captain, I appreciate that, and that's a really good advice. Instructions
Bloody hell, you two.
Mum and Dad are fighting, Stephen. Sorry, Damo. Didn't mean to go off rail too much.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Okay, I'll talk about a couple of sneaky tactics I like. Well, I don't play for leagues. I actually used to play for leagues, just for bragging rights with mates when I was in high school. But a sneaky tactic is, so
I think he's frozen. I think his video's frozen.
Oh, is he actually Oh,
Yeah, okay.
I thought he was just like that the whole time.
Yeah.
No, I saw him blink.
Is he?
I saw him blink. I did see him blink.
I can't tell. He's very good at staying still. Oh, yeah, there he is.
All right, we'll keep the podcast
Damo,
going.
I love you. Damo, I need you to know, just before we move on, I love you. You're a beautiful man.
I'm not speaking anymore. I'll read out the questions and then I'll just let you guys go for it.
Oh my God.
Don't do that, Damo. That's not what I intended. I apologize for putting words in your mouth. Sorry, Stephen. Go ahead.
So I like doing sneaky tactics with leagues. So so you can't see your opponent's VC or C, of course, before the first game starts. If you're looking at a VC on a Thursday night, the first game of the round, your opponent cannot see that. And so if you're looking to do that, then that's very cheeky. If you're looking to use your VC or C, hide them. And switch 5 minutes before the game, so you can. So your opponent goes, wait, hang on, I thought he was captaining Fishface McGee. No, he's captaining bloody Sam Darcy against North. No, no. So I think it's just little tactics like that. You hide your VC if it's not on the Thursday night, and hide your captaincy. If you're looking like you're going to win that matchup, match their captain. Like if all your nakes are done and you're up by 7 and you've both got the same captain, if you've got a captain, both of you've got a captain on the Sunday, just match his captain. Like it's sort of that sort of thing. You just want to prioritize getting wins on the board, regardless of what the score is. So it's just little tactics like that, just to throw your opponents off a bit and just to annoy them.
Man, I hope Fishface McGee turns up this week, because
I don't know what made me think of that, but yeah.
No, I love it. It's great.
Next
Damo,
question next question is from Jared. He's got 5 trades left and 156k in the bank. His D5 is Roberts, his D6 is Mills, and he's got McCarthy in the flex. He currently has Angus Clark, Zach Johnson and Hewitt as bench coverage for defense, mid and forward lines, with his other rookies not currently playing. He says, do I hold trades and wait for finals before upgrading them? Or do I turn Roberts into Bond and sell Elijah Hewitt for a forward rookie to maximize his cash? Other option is turn Hewitt into a mid forward under 507k to have coverage for all lines and loop McCarthy in with Roberts or Mills. Thanks again, legends.
I'd be trading Roberts for Bont, I think. I prefer that, yeah. What do we think Roberts averages in this role? Are we thinking like 75, probably?
Yeah, probably around 75, 80. I think less, to be honest. I think less, but it's hard because we saw him do donuts in that first quarter against the Dogs, and then score most of his points in like 2 quarters. So he can turn it on, but he just is inconsistent with his scoring, and it makes it difficult. I honestly think in a wing role, his average might be closer to like 60, 70.
Yeah.
But I don't mind the other option of holding him and selling Hewitt for a mid forward under 507k. Not that there's a lot of options out there, but I don't mind that other option. But if you can turn Roberts into Bont, then I think it's a bit of a no-brainer just to do that. The rookie that you choose, though, will be really important because you want a guy that's actually a chance to play, even if they're not currently playing. So, I mean, if he's got 156k in the bank, what money does he have available to turn, like, to buy that rookie? Like, Taj Houghton is a guy that's coming through the VFL, probably going to get a game for the Tigers soon. I think he's going to be a good rookie on the run home if people can grab him at any point. I mean, Liam McMahon's been doing okay, mid-season pick for Essendon. I think he's going to get into that side at some point, so he might be another guy you could look at. Already spoken about Alex Taru. He's not a mid-forward, but he does have dual position for forward and defence, so it gives options there.
Archer May.
Archer May's another one as well, yeah.
I think Archer May is probably the best cheap option that's going around.
I'd say so. I think Essendon are going to give him a fair run for the run home, I'd say.
Yeah, so I think turn Roberts into Bont and sell Elijah Hewitt for a forward rookie. I think that's what we've all agreed on.
Yep.
Now, guys, we've got a problem because we have multiple Jareds submitting questions. So we started with Nebulous Tim, and now Clarky, what term did you coin this?
We've gone to something different. I think multiverse Jared. It feels like because they're spelled exactly the same. I think that's implying that there's some kind of multiverse action going in. So multiverse Jared has also written in,
and he wants to know, who should I bring in as flex? Goulden, McRae, or Darcy Cameron, or someone else. This is my 7th last trade, and he has 674k to spend. He's given us his entire team. So his defense is Clark, Naz, Rosie, Sinclair, Stuart Mills. His midfield is Brayshaw, Dacos, Dawson, Bont, Neil, Davies Uniacke, and Doherty and McCarthy. His ruck is Gawn and Cherry. And his forward line is Smith, Kennedy, Darcy, Daniel, Warner, and Rankin.
Goulden for me.
Yeah, I think I probably picked Goulden out of that. I think he's the most value.
He doesn't own Max Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
I'd go Max Holmes. 674k. It leaves you with 50k to spare.
Who's his M8? Doherty.
Yes, Sam Doherty.
And who's his D6?
Callum Mills.
I'm still going Goulden, I reckon. Maybe the extra 40k. I think they can average relatively similar.
It's not beyond the realm of possibility that he actually goes that I don't know who he's trading out of that flex position currently because he doesn't have it listed, but maybe he could go Doc and whoever that other trade is to Holmes and Goulden. Is there how close in price is Doc to Goulden? About 150k, so that might not happen. But I'm not. But you know, if they were closer in price, I probably would have preferred that move. But I think Max Holmes. I really think Max Holmes.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the money to spend.
Yeah, I think it's all about intent with this one. I think are they picking those options because they leave him with some cash in the bank for like an emergency fund? Maybe, because I think the most expensive one there is Darcy Cameron?
Darcy Cameron's 578, Goulden's 581.
Yeah, what's McRae's 601?
And McRae is 501.
501.
I don't think I'd be trading in McRae. I think it's out of Goulden or Darcy Cameron if those are the options you want to give us.
Yeah.
And I think Goulden's the guy you go with. But if you can be swayed to someone else, Max Holmes.
Very fair.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I think if you want to bring in the best available guy, Max Holmes.
Just a reminder, guys, keep a lookout for our traffic lights across our socials and on our website. Traffic lights are a guide where we'll grade some players each week, and they will either be awarded a green, yellow, or red rating. Green indicates a good pick. Yellow is a watch or a hold. Red is a trade or a void. It'll be posted shortly after teams drop on a Thursday with an update, if needed, on Friday once the Sunday teams are confirmed. Now, between last week and this week, me and Clarky have been talking, and round 20 will be the last edition of Traffic Lights for this season, with trades becoming less in most people's teams and the need for trading becoming almost non-existent. There will be no full version of Traffic Lights after round 20. We might still do some version of it where we give our top options of the week or something along those lines, but there will be no Traffic Lights after round 20.
Makes sense.
Fair enough.
Vice captain and captains. Stephen, who is your VC for this week?
My VC for this week, for the first time this season, I will be laying a VC or C on Bontempelli. So I'll be having a crack at Bontempelli tomorrow night against North. Obviously a big celebration for North, but hopefully a better showing for a celebration game for Bont this week. So yeah, I think I'll be whacking that on Bont.
Clarky, who is your VC?
Just looking at it here, I haven't decided yet. Bont seems to make sense, but legally I'm not allowed to VC in the first game based on the rule of Lekdog, which Damo and I were both raised on, the law of the dog. So, I don't know, I maybe might chuck a cheeky VC on possibly a Nick Dacos, but there's apparently some illness running through Collingwood, so maybe there's a bit more reliance on him, I believe. Still, Sidebottom has been rumoured to be one of the few.
I think he's out this week.
Steel Sidebottom has been ruled out with soreness. Rowan Steele is debuting, which was their first pick in the mid-season draft.
Oh, huge. I drafted him in a keeper league. Sick. Maybe Tom McCarthy, honestly. Against the Giants. Yeah, Optus Stadium. It feels nice. It feels fun.
Big old plums VCing Tom McCarthy.
The biggest, especially to piss off my co-host in the same episode. Damo, I love you. Damo, who's your VC of the week?
I'm going to do everyone a favour and not VC Bontempelli because it feels like every time I have, he's just shat the bed. So I'm going to VC Nick Dacos.
Incoming 150 from Bont. That sounds
100%. We've spoken about we haven't had a 200 plus guy. Bont's primed for it now that my VC is not on him.
Also worth mentioning, we suggested Bont in his 250th, and I believe there's another 250th at the Bulldogs this week. Who you should, I don't know, VC or avoid. Is it Libba has a milestone this week?
Liberatore, he's got game 250 as well, I believe.
Yeah, that's cute that they're back to back.
Slay Queen.
And on that note, Stephen, who is your captain for this week?
My captain this week is Max Holmes against the Tigers, which hopefully I don't have to worry about for the weekend. Hopefully Bont can get the job done, but gee, I am I forgot what the word is. Salivating. Yes, I'm salivating over that. I think Bailey Smith's just as good of an option as well. I'm going Holmes because fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Clarky, who's your captain?
This may not surprise anyone, but it's going to be Bailey Smith on Max Holmes.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be popular. I'm on Max Holmes, but I have also, advised my brain that Bailey Smith also exists and is an option.
I think one is going to go 150, the other's going to go 95, and I don't think there's any in between. There will be a good or bad option.
Yeah, and then Stewart will sit neatly in between the both of them.
Yeah.
Now that we mentioned him. I'll probably say a shout out for there's probably a good opportunity to captain any Adelaide player in the Melbourne-Adelaide game this week. Melbourne have just been giving up points like it's nobody's business. I think it's like prime, like Jordan Dawson. I mean, big cojones to put the C on an Adelaide player like Rankin, Dawson. Who else they got? Laird off the half-back. Probably even, Mitch Hinge could score 160 this week.
Would they run a tag with Dawson?
I don't think they should. Ed Langdon's not a tagger.
No, I guess the height's a bit weird.
Yeah, it was fun when he did it on Nick Dacos, but Melbourne should not be tagging. We don't have one. We don't have, but...
I also like the Port Adelaide players on the Saturday night. So Zach Butters, Connor Rosie. I think you could go either of those guys. I know Rosie's currently dealing with flu and he hasn't been training, so maybe Zach Butters is the safer option there, but I don't mind either of them. Lockie Neal reckons that Brisbane don't tag, so do we believe him? I'm not sure, but I think Zach Butters can get past the tag anyway.
Yeah, I think he's very safe.
Lockie Neal also told me he was a primo at the start of the year, so I don't think I believe anything he has to say anymore.
And also, I reckon players are like the worst information to listen to. I can't, it's countless how many times they've lied. They lie every week on the radio.
Yeah, Dean Zorko.
And that's it for this episode of the Footy Mailbag. Hey, just before we get to the end, I just want to let people know that I have just noticed that there is an issue with our YouTube feed. Not every episode is going up. It's supposed to be automatic from our distributor, but I don't know what the issue is. I'm trying to work through it both with them and our YouTube channel. So if that's your main source of our episodes, try somewhere else, because it's going up on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, RSS feeds, all good. But for some reason, the YouTube feed just is not doing the automatic thing that it's supposed to. So trying to fix that as best we can. So we'll let you know when that's fixed. Stephen, thanks for coming on. Mate, what do you got going on this season for the rest of the 8 weeks?
Been a pleasure, boys. Great chatting footy and Supercoach with you. It's always a pleasure to jump on, so thank you. Plan for me for the rest of the season, I mean, it's a bit hard to get creative when it comes to content for the last 8 weeks, but we'll be doing my round reviews. We'll be helping out the TikTok crew for some videos.
And then, Stephen, on Thursday mornings, we do the Throwdown Thursdays.
Yes, we do. So should be good to roll this week. So hopefully we can see 11 to 11:30 tomorrow morning, Thursday morning.
That's right. You'll have mailbag in your feeds, and then you can go straight on to watching the beautiful Damo and Stephen.
I'm beautiful.
Clarky, I'll get you on at some point.
I have nothing of value to say, as most people who listen to this podcast know.
No, I love you, Clarky. I love you, Clarky. You're slowly overtaking Damo.
Fucking Jesus.
Jeez.
If you haven't given us a rating on your listening platform of choice, please, mate, I might not turn up tomorrow morning now. Please give us a rating. It helps new listeners find us. You can find us on pretty much every social media there is at the Footy Mailbag. You can find myself at Damo SC on Twitter, at an _ after that for Instagram, even though if I post a picture, it's probably in a hostage situation. Clarky, where can people find you?
I love it. I still love that you pimp it, though, because one day you're going to upload something and it's going to be fantastic. Like, it's because people will know, like people who follow you will know that the thing that you upload to your Instagram will actually have been worth uploading. Like, it's going to be something beautiful. You can find me at Quantum JC over on Twitter. You can also check out my other podcast, The Falcon. We do new episodes every Tuesday at Falcon Footy Pod for all of that stuff.
Thefootymailbag.net is our website. It's got our podcast feed, merch, written content, traffic lights, links to socials, links to submit your question or send us a voice mail. Thanks for listening. We'll talk next time, if there is a next time.
Voicemail